My friends, in the event that you are new to this wonderful card game and you have not yet signed up for a UGN Play account, you can now sign up with my exclusive referral code Alliteration and get yourself 50 bonus loyalty points for free, as well as additional loyalty points for every event that you play in within my referral code period. Why do you need these, you might ask? Well, loyalty points can be used to redeem free promotional cards in the mail, as well as other exclusive items coming in the future. The bonus points from using my code are enough to redeem almost any promo card right off the bat, and having your UGN account is going to allow you to accrue and track more and more as you go through your hero or villain's journey. If free cards and progression all sound super appealing to you, the links for all of this are going to be in the description below. Now, let's get on to the video. Welcome, my dear viewers, to another Alliteration gaming video. My name's Levi, and today I have the pleasure of hosting Pippa herself to come here on the channel and showcase her awesome, super cool and amazing top 32 Chaos Midnight deck profile that she piloted all the way to a solid top cut finish in the most recent Pro Hero National Tournament in Dallas. Pippa, hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. This deck is so sick, and I'm very glad to get more eyes on it, because I've been playing this character since set 1, and she is so gas right now.
Yeah, I know you've been a really big proprietor of this character for a while, and obviously the thing on everyone's mind after set 3 reveal showed us more and more cards that were good as a whole, but really good and specifically geared towards her. The thought on everyone's mind is Midnight real now? Is it now just like a better meme thing? Is it more of a sideboard thing now? I know a lot of people are really big on the sideboard Midnight tech, or is like Midnight as a deck super real? And that's what we're here to figure out.
I definitely think like she is super real as a deck, partially because her signature move, Somnambulism, this card just like ruins a lot of characters, and just being able to say like, no, I don't need to worry about your face, is ridiculously powerful.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Blood Curdle decks in general.
Yes.
Big fan of them in this meta too. So like the power of just being able to like take your rival's character and just try to put them down is really unmatched, especially in like a lot of the meta right now. You know, some of the big contenders, Kirishima 2, Moneta, Eraserhead. You know, so many guys. The second you commit their character, they really just crumble.
Absolutely. And leading up to Nationals, I basically had narrowed down my deck options to stuff that can play Blood Curdle or Midnight, because being able to turn off the rival's character in this metagame is ridiculously powerful.
It's a super big deal, and I think like if you're not gonna play one of those characters who is just that strong already, like if you're trying to be the unsung hero, right, the anti-meta rogue champion of the whole thing. Those are absolutely the angles that you really want to go at. So it makes sense as to why, like, obviously, like in this specific meta, you really enjoyed Midnight as a pick. But why do you enjoy Midnight overall, right? Let's go over like what Midnight does as a whole.
So she's a 628 character with 2 effects that are both ridiculously good. The first one lets her commit to discard any number of cards and then draw that many. And her second effect lets you commit a foundation to give the attack plus or minus speed equal to how many keywords it has. And that is obviously playable while committed. The big thing is that she gets to see 11 cards during her kill turns in order to truly find the gas and just like run over the opponent, playing like 5 attacks in a turn. All of them are like unblockably fast and do like 10 damage, while also being able to say she gets to free block Back Alley Haymaker, which is one of the best cards in the format right now, as well as a lot of Tokoyami stuff has a lot of keywords. So she's very uniquely positioned where she beats Kirishima, usually, and she can beat Tokoyami, and going into the tournament having favorables against the predicted 2 top decks of the metagame is super big, and the biggest reason that actually drove me into playing her.
That's very understandable. I also think that there's like a really big attraction towards like, not only do you get to see like, you know, so many cards when you're going deep on your kill turns, in general, across the entirety of the game, right, you're seeing so many cards as a whole, like you have an extra mulligan whenever you want to take it, essentially.
Yeah,
and
it is a free mulligan every turn cycle. Use it to just fish for block zones on defense as well, which is like super underrated.
In like a tournament experience, right? It's just so valuable to be able to just up your consistency factor that much over the course of such a long day, right? It adds a lot of stability towards your game plan.
Absolutely. Like being able to turn like 2 attack hands into 3 or 4 attack hands every single kill turn definitely added a lot to my deck success, and just being able to like always have the gas, right? And if I don't draw the gas, then I can just like build up and dig for the gas next turn.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to brick. It's tough to brick with Midnight. Is kind of the bottom line. Now you said you've been a big Midnight fan for quite a while now. What's kind of the history of that? When did you start playing the character? And also, feel free to tell me about some of your history in the MHA CCG or Universus as a whole.
Yeah, so I got into this game back last November when it first launched. Because I went to my LGS for Pokemon Local, and they're doing a pre-release of this event, and I'm like, oh, I like My Hero. Let me look into how the card game is, right? And then I saw that is based on fighting games, and I'm a big fighting game fan, right? I love Guilty Gear, I love Blaze Blue, I love all sorts of different fighting games, and so when I learned about that, I'm like, I'm all in. This game is sick. Early days of when I was playing, I was really big into Momo. She was like my first real deck. I loved Staff Strike. Staff Strike is forever one of my favorite archetypes. And my whole thing with games is I always love to play every single deck, because it's just fun having variety, and also I love being the experimental. Like, I want to try X, Y, and Z together, separate everything, just figuring out what is good and what is bad through experimentation is my big thing. So I'm definitely one of those players that'll show up to locals every single week with a new hot brew and end up stomping, because I discover stuff that other people don't usually.
Yeah, I totally get what you're coming from. I love, in card games, I love cracking codes, right? Cracking codes is very fun. And when you have a game with such like a really, really tight-knit community that's also full of other people like that, it's really fun when you crack one of those codes, because suddenly everyone wants to know about it, everyone wants to hear about it, which is like 99.9% of the reason why I really, really wanted to get this profile with you, because I'm sure there are a lot of Midnight fans out there who are also trying to crack that code that I think can garner a lot of insight from something like this.
Yeah, and definitely like with the cracking codes. I mean, I already did it previously with my Pippa Smash All Might 1 deck list.
Oh, that deck was so fun.
Yeah, that deck is so fun, and I still get compliments on it. Like, hey, thanks for like showing that off and making it a thing, because like that deck is so much ridiculous. It is so much fun. Just drawing like 15 cards in a turn and powerfuling someone for like 100 damage. Nothing gets my dopamine going more than having a really big move. That's why I play All Might. That's why I play Midnight, right? I love slinging gigantic moves at my rivals. That just like, if you don't block this, die.
Big stats are very, very fun. And you mentioned I know you mentioned liking Guilty Gear a lot. Is there anything that you want to shout out that you might be working on right now?
Yeah, so I'm actually making I designed a full Guilty Gear set of UFS cards. I'm still working on getting all the assets and cards together for that, but the main design work has been finished for a while. I've been busy, so I haven't been able to work on it, but that's something I'm gonna hopefully get back into soon, and there may be something spicy to look out for on the horizon for that.
That's extremely cool. I'm a huge Guilty Gear fan myself, so I'm very down to play test some Guilty Gear with you, Pippa. That sounds like a blast.
Hell yeah. And another thing is, like, this game is so cool in how free the design is, where you can really express a character's flavor through the mechanics of the game, which is one of the like coolest things about it for me, is just being able to have all these different avenues to show like how a character works and why that's actually like how they would legitimately work in a card game.
Yeah, I'm constantly blown away by how the design team figures out how to work such like interesting and intricate quirks and translate them into the game in such unique ways.
Absolutely.
Just like so many assorted characters just really, really blow my mind. But I'm like, oh, and I never would have thought of that. But now that you've put it in front of me, yeah, that character can definitely work that way. So cool.
As for like my experience with this character, I basically, from the moment I saw her, I'm like, this character is so sick, I want to play her so much. Like, not even a day after she had been revealed, I was already in the lab brewing stuff with her from set 1. And as soon as I got my hands on a physical copy of her, I played her. Like, literally, we had a provisional one weekend, which was the first ever provisional, right? Our prizes came in the mail and in time for the next provisional, and I'm like, I got a midnight. I'm playing her right out of the box. Like, what can I do with her? So I've been on this character since set 1, and she's one of the decks where I bring different decks to locals, as I mentioned, but she is the ones where I will always have her built. I'll always have her and some variation of All Might 1 built and always on me.
The universal constant. If Midnight has one player, it is me. It is me.
Well, Midnight has no players, I am no more.
Before we actually get into the super exciting profile itself, do you want to kind of talk about like your tournament experience as a whole? Anything new and interesting you learned? Any super unique matchups that brought a lot of new insight into your mind?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I played her primarily because she has a really favorable matchup against Kirishima and Tokoyami, the two frontrunners of the meta. And that's partially why I took her. The other reason is she can just like smash players, so anyone just playing assorted jank, I can just kind of run over, right? So that was sort of the process going into nationals. A lot of it also was trying to find a deck that could compete with Kirishima. Whenever I like prep for big events, I make my short list, which is actually a very long list of all the characters I would consider taking to an event. But I ended up going with Midnight and was super rewarded for it. I faced 3 Tokoyamis throughout the day. 2 of them were fire, 1 was chaos, which was actually piloted by Matt Childress, shout out Universes Academy. I actually only ran into 1 Earth Kirishima 2, and I kind of got smashed. He just plays the game so efficiently and so well that even if you have a deck to counter him, he can just like play solid UFS and just like box with the best of them. Round 3, I was against a evil Shoji, which was like the coolest deck I've ever seen. I'm actually gonna build it and bring it to locals, but it was so cool. It was like, you're gonna tutor up an Excited for Blood, you're gonna play it. On defense, you're going to block with the Compression Sphere, which will make your opponent lose 1 health, which will trigger all your Excited for Bloods on defense. And then you'll like clear your card pool with Amphibious Ambush and then like Tongue Whip as a finisher, and you just get access to all of this really cool defensive tech on Evil, like challenging the fakes. The entire match I was just geeking out about his deck, like, oh my god, that's so cool and brilliant, why didn't I think of that? I'm building that when I get home. Like the entire match.
I love how even at like a high nationals level, you're gonna see people taking super rad cool things like this. There's like so much room for player expression and also like the input of like individual player skill set as well.
I absolutely ran over a lot of defensive decks. 2-0'd Recovery Girl, 2-0'd a Life Momo, 2-0'd a Water Kamui. So I'm just able to like, this deck, given the chance, is just able to like completely run through defensive balls like they're nothing. As joking all day, I'm playing 6-hand-sized Tokoyami, but she has a lot of very unique things that Tokoyami doesn't get to do.
You get to block with this character.
You get to play defense. Like, this is the quintessential mid-range character. Midnight is so ridiculously flexible in her game plan. I do want to shout out Chris Smith for kicking my ass, and then also just being all around great dude.
Chris Smith,
great seeing him.
He will do those 2 things very consistently.
Absolutely. Good job to him for getting his Worlds invite. I want to shout out the new head group in particular, specifically River. River was my biggest testing partner in the month leading up to nationals. We played maybe like 100 or so games. Just every single night jamming games as soon as we got home from work. So we're going in ascending difficulty. So first off, we have 4 Twisting Azure Infernos. This card is just messed up. This card just gets big ridiculously easily and then says, oh, I don't count towards progressive, and all your attacks get +1 speed for the rest of the turn. For the next attack, we are running 4 Home Run Comets as well. Sorry, they're not XR. I've been trying to get them for a while.
They're hard. Those are hard ones to track down.
It has 3 keywords, so it's super fast, and it self-charges itself in terms of its momentum cost. So this is just like a great finisher that kills people, right? The recurring theme of this deck is every attack has the potential to just get huge and out of control and kill someone. And this being able to be a 4-diff attack that does that is ridiculously good.
Yeah, I like too that like if we like bink our checks on the way there and we have like no committed foundations, we can commit with Midnight to give it speed and then shove that one into the momentum. That's very cool.
On to the next attack. 5 diffs. We have 4 Command Pigeon Flock. This card is solely to build the 4 copies of Friend of Animals. This card is ridiculous in Midnight. It says, when I get committed, the thing gets 2 extra speed. So it turns Twisting Azure Infernos into +4 speed, right? Karwan Comet gets +5, right? This gets +4. Everything just like gets super ridiculously fast off of this, and it makes things very unblockable very quickly. Command Pigeon Flock. This is the only target for it in the deck, and it is totally worth it. Command Pigeon Flock also scales damage based on how many allies are in your card pool, and we run a decent bit. So this also just has the potential to randomly get big. It has much less potential than any other move, but it can get there. This whole package of 12 cards really formed the core of the deck, and just being able to tutor this out, build it, I get to commit for a bajillion speed, and then I get to remove it for more momentum to dunk people.
Yeah, I mean, in your like hyper consistency hand deck, it makes sense that like an engine like this is going to bring those elements to your stage and your attack patterns as well.
Absolutely. And another cool thing is you can commit Midnight, pitch it, and then immediately build it in with Command Pigeon Flock. Next, for big attacks, we have 4 Dark Shadow Ruin.
That's a big one, yeah.
It does be big. Because it gets stun 1 off of its bottom enhance, you can actually commit for +4 speed just off of itself. Unironically, one of the better pokes, because you can easily make this like a 12 high for 10, right? And then just be like, eat your 10 damage, now I'm going to build out. This was one of the best cards of the deck. Don't run this deck without 4 of these. It just gets way too big, too easily.
Ruin is so famous for being one of like the most massive bombs in the game. Being able to just say, hey, we can put 4 to 6 speed on it on demand is kind of insane.
And as for the best kill condition in the deck, we have 4 Indiscriminate Shock. This card, fun fact, has 3 keywords, so it gets 3 speed off of our face. It also gets 2 more speed off of this. So this very easily becomes unblockable for upwards of 12, 14, 15 damage. This card is nuts, and being able to make it even more nuts and unblockable with our face just makes it like... This is one of the best kill conditions, I believe, in the game currently, like under Midnight specifically.
No one would ever complain about 1.3 from a using it perspective, but I guess if you ever really could, you would say, oh, well, it's only 3 speed.
But it's not only 3 speed in this character, which makes it ridiculous. This is the attack lineup. The big thing is everything charges Home Run Comet, whereas with this deck, you really pressure the Kirishima players because everything is big.
Yeah, just looking at this attack package, I can immediately see how you 2-0'd Recovery Girl.
Yeah, no, that matchup was abysmal for her. With the action package, we have 3 Summon Dark Shadow, as well as 3 Evil versus Good.
Now this is the spice right here. This is the true spice right here.
So Summon Dark Shadow makes your character committed, but we don't care about that. And so it's just a crazy check hack that also buffs all of our moves and doesn't count towards progressives because of Dark Shadow Ruin, and also turns on Twisting Azure. And Evil versus Good, imagine if Summon Dark Shadow and Nightwatch had a child. That is what Evil versus Good is, right? Being able to randomly shut off responses actually matters so much in this. I turned off new training method to have someone build stuff in. I turned off like Twisting Azure Inferno's response so they couldn't buff the damage enough.
Oh wow!
It just randomly hits so many things. Learning the standards.
You get to stop Faith Shield. You get to stop Specialist of Sound. There's a lot. There's a lot of them. Yeah.
As for other foundations, we have 4 Stronger in Darkness. Our character will always be committed, so this is the freest 1 damage in the world. Being able to have multiple of these on board along with some of the other foundations just makes all of our moves gigantic. In a similar vein, we have 4 Basic Training. This is only once per turn damage pump, but it also has a very, very relevant deadlock. I expected deadlock to be a very relevant threat going into this metagame, to where if a deck didn't have a decent deadlock threat, it will lose.
Some of the decks that really want to do that are the Earth decks, which can flip your deadlock threats all day. So it's even more important to have like several of them on board.
We have 2 Easily Excited. It's basic training, but it gives speed, but it also gives a taunt keyword. I cut this down to a 2 because it was the least impactful 0 diff, but every time I saw this over the weekend, it overperformed, so I'm definitely bumping this up, because just being able to say, like, so suddenly this is an 8-speed IDS off of 1 card. We also have 4 release. Card is ridiculous. Just like how Rescue Completed is crazy in Momo, because she can commit something and then blow it up. Release does the exact same thing. Never run this as less than a 4 of. And then we also have 3 Requesting Assistance.
Do we only have 0 difficulty foundations in our deck, Pippa?
No. I'm sorry that all the 0 diffs are so good.
Chaos has busted 0 diffs.
Yes, which also makes build turns incredibly easy, because you see all these zeros. Requesting Assistance, it's a simple +1. You can actually like tap a Friend of Animals with Midnight and then flip a Requesting Assistance to re-ready it, and then tap the Friend of Animals again on your next attack for a bajillion speed. We have 3 Struggling with Studies. A lot of decks wanting to string, you can always pick up your blocks in order to keep playing defense, as well as also being target flip protection, which is great against all the earth piles. The next 1 diff, Chivalrous Competitor, but being able to protect all these great foundations really helps in the Kirishima, as well as just earth matchups generally.
Yeah, our stage is very crucial to us. I think if your deck is not like a seasonally advantage deck, it should be a deck that's playing 1 or both of these cards. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard. Unless your deck can just play the game without your stage nonchalantly, it's going to be hard to survive. And all of our moves have 8,000 speed, so giving them more cards to block with is irrelevant.
Exactly. So this was one of the super low-key cards this weekend, and again, in future iterations, I'd love to bump up this count a lot, because it also just, like, protects against the best card in the format, which is Seizing the Advantage.
Yeah, I think we all knew that Seizing was going to be insane, and Chivalrous was going to be also insane because of it, but I think if you played at Nationals this weekend, it really hammered home how much, like, if you care about your stage at all, you should be, like, maxing out these cards.
We also have one last 1 diff, which is Cool and Tough. I needed another deadlock threat, and this has a very real deadlock ability. If I ever built this on board, the rival just could not go into deadlock.
Yeah, I love going into deadlock, like willy-nilly. This card, you're not allowed to. I don't really care who you are, unless you have an answer to it, right? Unless you have an answer to it, you are just not allowed. And I think like as a 1/5 with a good block as well, that's like a really powerful application.
On to 2 diff foundations, we have the one and only, the boy, 1 with Nature, or 4 with Nature. Being able to pitch those for +2 speed is ridiculously powerful, as well as just giving free damage, because if you have these on board, you can respond when you discard off of Midnight's Commit. The last few cards, we have 3 Irrefutable Force of Nature. Earth piles are going to be everywhere, and this hits every single card in the Earth pile. So being able to just target opponent boards with this, and pick apart boards along with like all the stun package we have, is super, super powerful.
Yeah, I think one of the big things about this card too is when it comes to the Earth decks, all of their deadlock threats are pretty much on their foundations. So if you have to go into deadlock against them with these on board, you can shut down the snack times, the pull no punches, any other random stuff they might have, and then you kind of just have free reign to build against them as long as you can keep these around.
And the last cards in the list are 2 First Day of Class. This card is actually insane in this character.
Yeah.
Being able to like play 5 diff and say like, hey, my next actually is a quote-unquote 4 diff instead of a 6 diff. Being able to flip and ready it. It's stun hate, because you can stun and then flip and ready. Even on Midnight, if you don't need it to pass checks, you can tap it and then flip and ready, which is just a +1, and Midnight loves +1s. So that is the main board. Onto the sideboard.
Yeah, because this is, I think, where we probably have the most interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah. So first off, we have 4 Somnambulisms, all in the side.
All on the side. Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
This card should never be mainboarded. That is my hot take. It only hits 50% of the matchups, and 50% of the matchups where it doesn't do anything, it is just a 2-check in your deck that's clogging up your builds and is just like really awkward.
It's definitely pulling you down a lot in the matchups where the commit your rival's character isn't super relevant. The other text on the card is very relevant, but I don't know if it's like having a 2-check in your deck relevant.
Yeah, card is super sick. It should stay in the sideboards though. If I catch a midnight mainboarding this, I have some words with you. We also have 4 Ice Storms in the side. I didn't want to mainboard them because they bog down Home Run Comet value. And also, Breaker 2 is very good, but in some matchups, specifically Tokuyami, Breaker 2 doesn't actually do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Because even if you Breaker 2, he's going to have like +2 to his check because of Summon Dark Shadow and Twisting Azure. Going into Kirishima, you would always side these because...
Absolutely. All his attacks are mid. They're all
of his attacks are mid.
These super duper slow mids, and like Breaker is one of the only like actual ways to slow that character down.
Yeah, so these 8 cards were my sideboard that I always sided into Kirishima 2. I didn't run into a ton of them, but you just shove these cards in the Kirishima 2 matchup and it becomes infinitely easier.
For people looking to implement these sideboard options, was there a general game plan of attacks you side?
It really depends on the matchup. I'd cut like Home Run Comets if I was siding the full 8 because none of these turn on Home Run Comet, so this loses a lot of value.
Or like if you know you're going into the game going second, right? The Ice Storms are a bit more of a priority since you need to be defensive.
Absolutely.
If you're going into game 3 going first, you're like, screw him, I'm just gonna kill him.
And we have the spicy sideboard slot.
Yeah, tell me
Fighting
about this.
Spirit.
Tell me about this one right here.
I kept getting hosed by You're So Obvious, resetting the damage back to 5, right?
Oh.
And so I'm like, I'm just going to run Fighting Spirit, and I know all the Kirishima 2s are going to be siding You're So Obvious for my deck, so I can just bring this in as an answer that they don't have any awareness of.
Do you have any closing notes to add to this super cool deck, Pippa?
If anyone tries to play this deck, realize that the game plan is ridiculously flexible. The character is good at all points in the game, and it can really fit to whatever playstyle you want.
Well, there you have it, guys. Never feel pigeonholed with Midnight from Pippa and her top 32 Chaos list. Pippa, thank you so much for coming on the channel and showing off this deck with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and hopefully we can get more spicy deck profiles eventually as well.
Yeah, and above all else, thank you for giving me this profile and not Tamron Cardwell, because he hates Midnight. He hates Midnight.
Oh my god, Tamron hates Midnight. You cannot bring this character anywhere near him.
And if you also truly appreciated this profile, please go down in their comments to let me know via the like or dislike buttons. And if you really liked what you saw and want a little bit more of it, the subscribe button is going to let me shove more and more cool videos like this. We've got deck profiles, gameplays. I'm going to have so much coverage on so many of the top decks, and there's really not going to be any slowing down. So if all of that sounds super cool, I would love your support above all else. That's all the time I've got for today, though. Thanks again for making it all the way to the end of this video, and again, big thank you to Pippa for coming on and showing off this deck with me, and I truly hope that we'll see you in the next one.